Okay, I'm going to go back to the home page. And one of the things that we had noticed earlier on was that at the bottom of the Drupal 8 theme is a contact link. And if we click on that, we get a contact form. In Drupal 7, we could get this too. If we went to the modules page and then we scrolled down to contact and we went to the very bottom and clicked save configuration, and then we navigated manually to the /contact page, we'd get a contact form that looks almost identical. The contact module in Drupal 7 has two roles. One, it creates a site-wide contact form, this one, and then it also supplies individual contact forms for users to connect with other users, which is probably the most useful part of the contact module. In Drupal 8, the contact module has been rebuilt to be a form builder, so a bit more like the contributed web form module for Drupal 7. So for example, if we wanted to add an additional field to this form, we could go to Manage, Structure, and then Contact Forms. The website feedback form is right here, and we can click the arrow on the drop-down button and go to Manage Fields, and we can add a field, just like we can with a content type, comment type, or block type. I'll click it, and I'm going to select Text Formatted Long, and I'll label it About Me, and I'll click Save and Continue. We'll leave it to one value, and we'll leave it the defaults and click Save Settings, and now we have an additional field. By default, the input is added to the contact form. So if we go back to the home page and we go back to contact, we'll see the About Me field here. But we can adjust how it displays by going to the Manage Form Display tab on the form. Now, even though you're probably pretty used to this interface by now, this is a little different because the form is the user-facing part. Most of the time, the forms are just being used by administrators, but in this case, the form is something that we want the end user to have access to, even anonymous users. So it might take a second to get oriented to the different setup here, but I appreciate the consistency in the user interface. So if we wanted to change the location of About Me to above message, we can do that here, and we'll click Save. And then in this case, the display is actually the email that will get sent as a result of the submission. So in this case, let's say we wanted the About Me to show up above the message in the email that we get when somebody submits the form. I'll go ahead and click Save, and then I'll go back to the form and refresh. I'm going to close out this toolbar. And now the About Me shows above because we changed it in the form display settings. And I'm going to fill this out. Okay, and I'll click Send Message. Now, just like in Drupal 7 or in any web project, if you don't have your machine set up to send email, you might not get anything once this is submitted. Configuring that can be a little tricky, but if you really need to test it and you're not sure how to configure it on your local machine, you can always spin up a remote Drupal 8 site and test on that. When I check my messages, this is what I got. So it says which user sent the message, where the contact form was, and then it sets the order of the fields according to what the fields were set as in the display settings for the contact form. So I dragged About Me up above message so it shows up first, and then we get the message. The formatting isn't that awesome, but it does get the message across. Now the contact module in Drupal 7 is way more limited. If we go to Structure and then Contact Form, we can add additional categories. And when that category is selected, it will send the email to a different person. I'll go ahead and click Save. And now once we have these two options, you can see that a category shows up here, and whoever submits this form can select a category to send the message to different people. And you may have noticed that we could also send a different message to the user as an auto response. But that's as far as the configuration goes for the contact module. If we go back to the Drupal 8 Structure and then Contact Forms page, you can see that we can also adjust the fields for the personal contact form, which is nice, and we can add additional contact forms.